Hi, today's a big day. Today's a very exciting day. Today is new iPhone day. But for me, it's more like new camera day. You see all the new tech inside these and the thin profiles and the big screens and the bezels and battery life. That's great. That's all amazing. We'll get to that. But for me, it's all about the cameras. So today, we'll be testing these bad boys out to see how good they actually are.
What is it about an iPhone where sometimes I feel like it exposes a photo better than my actual camera? And then I get onto my actual camera and I can't make it look as good as the iPhone. Who's been there with me? I can't be the only one.
Okay, we're back. We've shot some photos with the new 12 Pro over the weekend, both at night, midday, in the forest, checking out the detail and a range of different features that now come with the 12 Pro. And it's always really exciting to see this capability in a smartphone. Here's a shot of my friend Ash. What enamors me about this photo, now this is ungraded, it's just a snap straight out of the phone. Here's what's interesting and why the iPhone is so good at exposing scenes in the camera. You can look around this photo in many different spots. You've got detail everywhere. There's detail in the shadows, on the shed, and the far back of the photo. You can see texture in his actual puff vest. At the same time, you can see the sky is perfectly exposed. It's not blown out. There is not one single section of anything blown out in this entire frame. And that's where it completely blows my mind, because to get a shot like that with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, you're shooting some sort of HDR or bracketing, or you're going into Lightroom and you're doing some magic, because that is very hard to do for a camera. That's dynamic range. It's the same thing when you look outside with your actual eyeballs. You look outside, you can see everything inside exposed well, and you can see everything outside exposed well. Cameras are not that good. With cameras, you need to choose. Am I going to expose outside and then I'm not going to have light indoors? Or am I going to expose indoors and not have light outside? And that's where cameras get more expensive. You start to introduce lights and different techniques that professionals use to expose both indoors and outdoors, because that looks more cinematic. And then enters the iPhone Pro 12, where you're just taking a single snapshot and it's doing that for you immediately. That is f***ing incredible. Now, through our testing, there were some instances where you've got some problems sometimes where that sharpness is really, really sharp. Here's a wide shot of a forest, the road going down the center, again with the sky nicely exposed and everything else in the scene, foreground and background, exposed as well. This, however, is an example of where everything just looks a little too sharp sometimes. That's when I bring something into Lightroom. I kind of move those sliders to the opposite end to reintroduce the softness to the image to make it feel a little more realistic, because it was too sharp. Let's take a look at portrait mode. Here are a few shots. Looks amazing. You've got a great depth of field. I noticed just in the corner of his face, there's a little bit of like weirdness going on where the depth is happening as far as portrait mode kicks in. Sometimes though, like on this second shot, cropped in a little bit more, it did a perfect job. You can see the little flip of his hair is even in focus, and the background has depth of field. Zooming in to look at the detail on this portrait shot, that bike is tack sharp. The clothing is tack sharp, and there's a perfect outline giving you that smooth background. This looks like it was actually taken with a DSLR or mirrorless camera. And that's what, as a photographer, blows my mind constantly when I'm looking at the fact that it was done with a phone. So the wide angle lens on this new camera has a 1.6 aperture, which is letting a ton of light in. So for the people that are taking photos indoors, it's gonna make those easier to capture. I think low light photography as a whole is something that a lot of people struggle with. The second you get indoors, you start using any type of camera, especially an iPhone or anything like that, that's when you start to struggle a little bit more. So having all that extra light really helps when you're inside or at night.
We're down in the city right now, Toronto. It's actually been like 2 years since I've been downtown at night shooting photography. Like, that's absurd. So I've come down to check out some of my favorite spots. Oh, that looks sick. That's a good spot. Do we frame it with the building, or do we come out and shoot it wide? I just got an incredible image of a couple walking down this I don't know, the side of this building here. The light looks so good. Being able to snag that motion and still have like a crisp photo that looks this evenly exposed, that's impressive for just a phone that's in your pocket. Like, that's hard to do with a camera. I'm pumped. I kind of don't know how to feel about this. I'm very excited that it makes it so accessible, but is it too easy to get incredible shots? I don't know. It's great. Pro tip for night photography with the iPhone. If your phone is on a flat surface or a tripod, I believe it's the accelerometer inside the phone knows that it's on a stable surface, and that'll actually give you a long exposure time. That's not a new feature, by the way. That was in the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max. Just remembered that.
I don't want to hold this anymore.
Why?
It's like an unreleased iPhone. Yeah, it's just making me so nervous. I feel like you're handing it to me and I should be grabbing it, but I'm not. I'm not. This is a lot right now.
So indoor photography, night photography, those types of things have always been a little more challenging for people. Despite what camera you're using, it doesn't matter. With the iPhone specifically, they've been improving that time and time again with every iteration. This one is no exception, because now with that new LiDAR scanner on the back, it's making autofocus 6 times faster. So that was one of the things. When you have low light, it's hard for the camera to focus. So you've got a 1.6 aperture, there's tons of light being let in, plus the scanner making everything faster, equals better night shots. Handheld night shots, where you don't need a tripod or anything else, you're just snapping photos and you're getting shots that look like this. Now previously on the 11 Pro, you didn't have night mode with the ultra wide camera. Now you have night mode with the ultra wide camera. That's the little yellow icon that pops up and counts down from 3 seconds to 2 seconds to 1 second, makes you hold still so that it gets the best possible exposure. If the camera detects that it's on some sort of tripod, it'll actually give you a longer exposure time, letting you do more creative photography. Taking a look at this one right here in Chinatown of this guy riding his bike by the frame, where I had it open for about 3 seconds, allowing a little bit of shutter drag on the subject, but keeping the background tack sharp, all whilst hand holding it for 3 seconds. Okay, this next shot is a really good example of how the camera works at night. This is the shot looking up at the TD building, downtown Toronto, Financial District at about 11:45 p.m. So it was dark. This particular corner of the building is never lit up. It's always very dark, shadowed, but the bridge usually has a little bit of light on it. So pointing the phone up towards the sky with about a 3-second exposure, it's incredible to see the amount of light because they did not look like that in real life. There is a little bit of noise and pixelation in the bottom left corner. On the edges it fell apart a little bit, but overall still really impressive. The software and the hardware combined in a device like this now is getting so good, so scary good, that even if I forgot my camera somewhere, I would have no problems thinking that whatever I need to capture, I can still do on this to a degree. Now, why does that matter? Because for your average consumer or your average person that's gonna be looking at picking up this phone, the camera on here is going to be more than anything you probably ever need, and that's why it's super exciting. So as a photographer and someone that takes photos every single day, films videos every single day, it's nice to know that the device I'm carrying in my pocket for things like phone calls and FaceTime and emails and social media is also one of the best, most accessible, easy to use cameras that was released in 2020. Will it outperform everything I have? No, but it'll do a really phenomenal job at almost all the things I throw at it on a daily basis. Now, being realistic, am I going to sub this out for a Red camera or doing some sort of crazy cinematic production with a crew in a documentary or a short film? No. Could you? Yeah, you could. You could also drive a Jeep with the doors off in the winter, but you're probably not going to. So yes, you could technically do some degree of professional shoot with the phone if it was all you had, but my preference as a cinematographer and professional photographer, I would still prefer to have the tools of my trade. As far as the video features go with the 12 Pro, I'm in the middle of testing those now against some other cameras, so stay tuned for more content based off of that and a few other surprises we have coming up here on the channel. That should just about conclude my thoughts on like the first day or two of use using the new 12 Pro and trying to get a feel for how good the camera is. So guys, that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your first look at the new iPhone 12 and 12 Pro. Hope you enjoyed the photos and the videos and just get a sense for how epic this camera actually is. Hit the like button if you like this video, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you, hopefully, in the next video. See ya.